So, gamers' massive boycott against feminism just won. As many of you guys know, gamers have launched a massive boycott against feminism, and they just won. This is unbelievable. It's breaking news. Here's what happened. A game came out called Concord recently. The game evidently cost $200 million from Sony to make. It only made $25,000 in sales, and Sony has now announced that the game is being shut down forever, and players, all 25,000 players, are being refunded. And this is as a result of the backlash against feminism and woke culture in games. Watching this video to fully understand the major implications of this, how this is one of the largest wins in history against wokeism and feminism in gaming, and what this actually means for not just gamers, but men and society. And now let's just go ahead and jump right into the first video, which comes from Asmon Gold, and his channel will be linked in the description, so you can go check him out and support him.
That Concord has been aborted. My mod sent it to me. Nomad sent it to me, and I replied back. I said, I used to pray for times like these. It's crazy. Yep, it's dead. It's actually fucking dead. Yep, I know. Isn't that crazy? Yep, with a full refund. You're goddamn right. I know, man. Abortion clinic worked on Concord? Well, hey, this goes right into what people are talking about with post-birth abortions, you know? It's been around for a couple of weeks, and they finally decided, you know what? This is a bad decision after all. Man. So they brought out the old coat hanger? No, they didn't need to, bro. They just suffocated the baby. It's just dead anyway, man. Do you think they'll bury it or try to rework it? I don't think they're going to do shit, man. I think it's done. Yeah, honestly, I think it's fucking done, man. Yeah, only a $250 million mistake from Sony. Yeah, holy fuck, dude. Guess what? Nothing will be learned. You say nothing will be learned, but I don't agree with that. I think people learned a lot out of Concord, man. I did. Some people are going to be fired after Concord failure. Oh, yeah. No, make no mistake. I think high triple-digit amount of people are going to be absolutely fucking removed because of this. This is going to be like Concord will be remembered in 10 years from now for how much of a catastrophic failure it was. I don't think that people respect how big of a failure this was. It's incredible, right? A lot of people are very happy about this, myself included. The game looked like trash, and so that's what happens. So Concord is going offline. That's right, guys. They are bringing Concord into end of service. This massive game, this is like, I really do feel like this is a monumental, catastrophic failure that is something that will be remembered for years to come. This will be something that, like, 10 years from now, will be like, do you remember, like, we look back on, like, games like Superman 64, or E.T. on Atari, or the Hobbit game on the GameCube, I think, was, like, really bad. And there's, like, a handful of other ones that were just, like, super, super garbage. Like, this will be one of those games, yeah, Duke Nukem Forever. This will go into the, pantheon of failures. Like, it will make its rightful place in the pantheon of game failures of all time.
Guys, yeah, I think Asmon Gold is, like, even understating it. For example, I don't think games like Duke Nukem cost these companies the kind of money that Concord has now cost. So you need to understand what Concord is. Concord is not some little game from a startup company. Concord is a game that was made by Sony. All right. PlayStation's Concord appears to have made only $1 million. This article came out, you know, today when I'm recording this video, September 3rd, 2024. Now in week 2 of Concord's release, the dust is settling on the PlayStation multiplayer title, and as you might expect, things continue to be very bad. Concord has possibly just 25,000 sales in total, according to industry analysts, based on an extensive report from IGN's Rebecca Valentine. I think that, and I think, forgive me, I think if Rebecca was the same person who like complained about Stellar Blade and feminine and discrimination from gamers and all kinds of, and slandered a bunch of studios. It's tied to, so anyway, it's tied, and forgive me if I'm wrong. It's tied to the game's exceptionally low player count, which peaked under 700 on Steam and was 147 most played game on PlayStation during its launch week. 700, so there were only 700 people playing it on Steam. This is for a brand new game. You can also see those sales in the actual sales charts, a bit without specific numbers attached. So, guys, this game cost a lot of money to make, and evidently it's costing Sony a total of about $200 million. This is the total loss that they are estimated to take on the release of this game. So on PlayStation, after a whole lot of scrolling, you can see that it's the 154th best-selling game on the platform, which again, this is 12 days after its release, and the game is $40, not 60 to 70 like much of its competitors. So you can see where those 25,000 units estimates are coming from, and multiplied by $40. Well, that's just $1 million in revenue. If you want to compare that to, say, an actual PlayStation hit like Spider-Man 2, that game sold 11 million units by last count, and that would be about $770 million in revenue. I mean, guys, this is very, very serious. This is very, very serious what's happened here, guys. This is probably the biggest loss ever. This is probably the absolute biggest loss ever. Absolute biggest loss ever for like in terms of like a game. Like the amount of money that has been lost. And I can't, it's guys, so gamers have been, there's been a massive backlash against feminism in games. It started with Stellar Blade earlier this year, where IGN basically attacked Stellar Blade. It was a game where, you had a very beautiful woman, fighting enemies in a game, and they were furious. They basically went after the guy who developed the game, compared him to an incel that couldn't find a wife and no one would ever want. And turns out, and they said that the main character was not realistic. She doesn't look like an actual woman. It turns out the woman that this guy is married to is also a game developer, and the character looks very much like his wife. So after calling him an incel, they basically, IGN then tried to use plausible deniability and claim that it was their sister office in France, IGN France, that made the statement, and they should not be held accountable for it. Then Black Myth Wukong came out, and IGN went off. I think, like I said, I think it was Rebecca Valentine who did it. Went off on Black Myth Wukong, claiming that there was like a history of misogyny in the game development studio. Keep in mind that she actually completely misread translations from the developer, and she slandered the game. And then when the game was coming out, people were given a review code for Black Myth Wukong. Were warned by the developer that if they take a code, they have to review the game based on these specific guidelines. One, they could not mention the events of 2020, so no mention of China and COVID. They could not, because it's a game that was developed by a Chinese company. They could not talk about woke culture and spread specifically feminist propaganda in their reviews. Yes, they said feminist propaganda, so they banned feminist propaganda. And there were a number of other things. And they basically said the only thing you can talk about is the game, whether you like the game or not. Talk about the game's mechanics, talk about what's happening in the game, talk about any issues that arise in the game, whether you like the game or not, whether you enjoy playing the game or not. Talk about just the game. And that's what basically ended up happening. And the leftist gaming media and media in general was pissed off about this. They tried to attack the game. It doesn't matter. At last count, the game sold 10 million copies in just 3 days. We don't actually know what the updated figure is right now, but those are massive numbers. It's possibly the best-selling game in China ever, and it is blowing up the charts. So Stellar Blade was the first to set this off earlier this year, and it's just been a massive backlash from gamers who are now voting with their wallets. Fast forward, and now you have Concord, that Sony is, reportedly invested well over $100 million into, and they are reportedly now going to take a total loss of about $200 million after developing this game. And again, this was not a small game. This was one of the biggest games. This was a massive game, a very large game that they were depending on. This game actually took a very long time to develop. The issue is that Concord is not some small indie project. This comes from Forbes.com. Forbes, the business website, but one that took Firewalk reportedly 6 to 8 years to develop. The exact budget is unknown, and it was originally estimated to be around the $100 million mark, but there's no firm sourcing at that. And guys, when I've looked around at different sources, some have said 130 million, while others have said that it's up to 200 million or over $200 million. And the thing is that it doesn't even matter. For example, whenever there are a bunch of logistics in this, but for example, if a company, when movies are made, if a company invests $100 million in a movie, because of the way that the movie is sold and distributed, for example, everybody's getting a cut of that. A lot of people are getting a cut. The movie theaters and the distributors. So whatever movie is made, even if it costs $100 million to make that movie, they'll usually need to sell. They will typically need to make back at least twice the amount or more to justify the budget. So if you make a movie that costs $100 million, you may need to sell, and then there's also a marketing budget. So not just the movie, the cost to produce it, but then there's also the marketing budget. You may need to earn back anywhere from 250 to 300 million, or sometimes even more than $300 million for them to break even, just to hit the break even point. Because you have to understand, there's the development budget, there's the marketing budget, there's cost for there's cost for distribution. It's insane, all right. And again, everyone is making a cut. So if you're selling a game, selling something that costs this much to make, you have to remember that all these middlemen are also taking a cut. So just so that you can make back the money that you invested, it has to make 2 or 3 times that amount. The same thing occurs with gaming. You have to remember that when the game is being sold on Steam, Steam is taking a 30% cut from that game. Okay, when the game is being sold in stores, physical games, you have to remember that the stores are also taking a physical cut from those sales. There's the manufacturing cost to manufacture the physical copies as well. They do cost a lot of money. It does cost money to manufacture every single one of those games. It's still not free. So guys, this is a massive L for Sony. Like, think about this. Like, if they shipped like 1 million copies of this game, right? And it costs, $2 or $3 to manufacture each game, because these things are on like Blu-ray right now, and the casing and everything, then that's millions of dollars just lost in just the materials to develop the game, and then there's the logistics to deliver the games to the stores. Oh my gosh, this is such a massive L, y'all. This is such a massive L. So, Concord was it's basically a shooter with heavy amounts of feminism in it. So basically characters that, were, different ethnicities, not attractive, overweight, represent, because they wanted to have mass representation. And and the gameplay was evidently not as bad as even something like the Suicide Squad game, Kill the Justice League, but they didn't care. Gamers just basically have had enough, and they just didn't pick it up. They did not give it a chance at all. So even half of what would be a $49 million loss currently, with essentially no current room for improvement. Okay, so they're not even making back half of that. They're screwed. How low these sales are will likely accelerate the timeline for the game to go free to play. Other games might be given a chance to find an audience. So yeah, this game is not going free to play. It's been out for 2 weeks. It's not going free to play, because it's an online game. It's an online shooter. Well, yeah, you basically can go around and compete against people. Yeah, it's done. It's absolutely done. Concord is shutting down. Refunds being issued. PS5 exclusive game Concord is shutting down on September 6th. So it will be shut down 3 days from the time of recording this video. Concord player counts and sales were extremely low. Options for Concord's futures are being explored. This is hilarious. PS5 console exclusive hero shooter game Concord is shutting down on September 6th. Concord was first revealed to the world this past May. It was in development for 6 to 8 years, so possibly almost 10 years of development. And we don't even know if planning started before that. Holy cow, guys, this is crazy. This is crazy. So this game appears to have been in development before maybe even the PlayStation 5 had even taken shape. Yeah, before the PlayStation 5 came out, but before they even really knew what they were going to do with the PlayStation 5. It struggled to generate interest. Many criticized the game for being yet another hero shooter in what was becoming an increasingly crowded market, while others were not impressed with how it seemed to ape the art style of Guardians of the Galaxy. So, guys, this is Game Rant. They don't want to admit the point. The fact is that, this was a complete and massive backlash against feminism in gaming, woke culture, and people refuse to buy this game, especially when money is very tight right now. Sony is trying this type of shit where they're putting out games that cost an extraordinary amount of money, and they're raising the price of their consoles. It's like, I don't know, guys. I don't know what kind of they're basically trying to see how far they go until the consumer will crack. Like something is strange at McDonald's going on right now. Like sometimes I'll usually get discounts for like Uber Eats, and like, oh, you get them sometimes. It's like, oh, get $15 off for your next 3 orders, right? And if you that's what or sometimes you get those on DoorDash too. And what's really strange, and you could usually use them at almost every restaurant, every fast food restaurant. You can use it at Wendy's. You can use it at Burger King and so forth. Even some places you might not even think you could use it at. But what's weird? What's really, really weird? You can't use them at McDonald's now. Like McDonald's, what they did is like they basically dug themselves into a hole right now where they basically have robbed the consumer so far blind that people are no longer eating McDonald's, and they're just accommodating to people who have the money to eat there. So basically people in a completely different income bracket. And increasingly those people are going to walk away. And Sony right now, they're basically pricing things as high as they can. They've lost now $3 billion on Bungie because they're shutting down. They've basically said there's not going to be a Destiny 3 anymore. There was going to be another game coming called Marathon, and evidently it doesn't look like that's going to happen. They basically shuttered Bungie that they paid $3 billion for. That's a $3 billion loss. That's a $3 billion L for them. I mean, this is a massive loss, massive screw up. Absolutely terrible. So, all right. And yeah, guys, this is just one L after another L after another L for Sony. Don't think that Microsoft is any better. A lot of the games that they're putting out look like woke garbage. The new Fable is absolute woke garbage. It looks like the character models are ugly, and Sony's been doing this. For example, if you look at Spider-Man 2, again, the character models in Spider-Man 2 are absolutely ugly. The reason why people play the game is because of the gameplay, and you have people like, trying that, women in gaming trying to defend it, like, oh, well, it's because games are now looking more realistic. That's why all the games look so ugly. Why the characters in games also look ugly, because they now look like real people, and real people look ugly, which is a complete lie. Completely lie. Because when you look at some games from overseas made by some of these developers, you still have beautiful characters. If you look at Stellar Blade, you had a very beautiful character. Do you know what IGN called her? They said she looks like a doll. But it was made by a Korean developer, and his wife is Korean. It's made by a developer whose wife is Korean, so it was modeled off a Korean model. And this is how many Korean women actually look. Many, like, you could just go on YouTube, and that's how like a lot of Korean girls look. And it's basically an attack on humanity. So this is a backlash that Sony has been hit really, really hard. They've been hit really, really, really hard on this. They're now giving refunds, and Concord's player count continues to dwindle. It's been announced that the game is being taken offline indefinitely starting September 6th. Concord sales are ceasing immediately, and gamers that purchased the PS5 or PC will be getting a full refund for the game. Those that purchase from the PlayStation Store or PlayStation Store or PlayStation Direct will get a refund using their original payment method. All insane stuff. Steam and Epic Games Store refunds should be automatic as well. Those that purchased a physical copy of Concord will have to work things out with the retailers where they purchased the game. Holy cow. Access to Concord will cease once refunds have been issued. So, yeah, guys, the retailers are not going to want to take the games back. There's no way GameStop is going to want to take the game back. So the gamers who purchased physical copies, it wasn't a lot. Those 25,000, but that's still thousands of people potentially, right? That purchased the physical copy from the retailers. And guys, again, you have to think about this. What's really interesting is they likely shipped either a couple 100,000 or maybe even a million, maybe a million or millions of copies of this game and to retailers, and no one bought it. So all of those games are going to be tossed in the trash. Like, all of these copies of Concord are going to be tossed in the trash. This is crazy. Concord servers are going down today. What the hell? So it says that here, it says Concord will be going offline on September 6th, but on this article it says actually that Concord servers are going down today. Concord servers will be going down for about an hour later today, while it has failed to attract. Okay, so yeah, it's going down today. The unfortunate reality is that there are not simply enough people willing to pay $40 to play the Concord game, so many didn't even bother to give it a chance. What the hell? What the living hell? Okay, so it was going down for about an hour today, and it'll go offline. It'll go offline permanently on the 6th. Yeah, that's crazy. So there's only 3 days left. There's only 3 days left to play this game. Wow. And no one actually wants to play it. And the people who purchase physical copies are totally out of luck. What this ultimately means for society, guys, is that, women are going to basically notice that more men are leaving society, and men are also leaving virtual spaces that do not represent them. This is only driving a larger wedge between men and women, and you're going to see more and more men voting with their wallets and saying no. And the interesting thing is that where men go, women follow. This is the thing that people don't seem to understand. Men are now going where they are appreciated and going where they're celebrated. So a lot of guys are not even leaving their homes anymore. And if they want to be if they want physical intimacy, or they want to be with someone who appreciates them, they're going to go overseas. But they're no longer interacting in Western society. Even in China, they're shutting women out of relationships, saying that they don't want to be. They'd rather go MWA or MGTOW, but they're not getting into relationships with these women who are basically now in their late 30s and 40s, or even and and also demanding large dowries to marry them. Guys, can you imagine how their parents must have messed up? You have a daughter, and she is demanding that a man pay her tens of thousands or even $1 million dowry to marry her. How can you have raised someone like that? And they're like 40 years old. Like, and guys, all of this is the doing of the boomers. The boomers are the ones who created this woke society. And now they're the ones who are going to have to face the consequences for the decisions that they've made. Because make it very clear, we were born Gen X, older millennials. We were born to hustle. We were born into this dystopia. All right. So either we're going to pass away, or we're going to keep on fighting till the end, because that's just the mentality that we have. Okay. We're not like Gen Z. We have things to do. We have work to do. Basically, we're just going to keep going and going and going, even no matter how much it hurts. All right. No matter how much it hurts. And the boomers, they can't keep on going. They're old. They are old, and they can say whatever they want. They can say that, they're great and whatever, but guess what? They're getting old. A lot of them are like pushing 80 now. All right. Okay. And in 10 years, that's really it for them. They cannot stay in the workforce. They cannot keep trucking along. And Gen X and and older millennials, or just millennials in general, are not going to bail them out. And then the evil that they're doing is they're thinking they're going to shift. They're going to raise taxes sky high to pay for everything. This is what they're saying. They're going to have to raise taxes sky high to pay for everything, to pay for their entitlements. But Gen Z will be okay. Gen Z is dropping out, and they think that they're going to put all of this burden on the millennials. The millennials have been working for a long time, so a lot of millennials came into the workforce when things were bad, and they've had to put off a lot of things in their lives to get to this point, just to get to this point, and nothing has given. So guess what? A lot of millennials will basically say, yeah, we're not going to buy houses, or if we do buy a house, it's going to be a tiny house. We'll get a piece of land and build a house on that. And a lot of them are going to begin walking away because, as many of them say, okay, children are not realistic. Having a family is not realistic. Well, then I'm not going to spend all of my time working as hard as I can. If a man does not have love for family or country, he will fight for neither. So if these men, all right, if these men, and even women, but if these men have basically say that, well, we're not working hard for our country, we're not working for a family, and this country is a country that hates us. So society hates us. You know, women in society don't want us. They told us to go away. Then what are we fighting for? We're only going to fight for ourselves. All right, and that just means we'll work just enough to survive and thrive, and no more. The average man doesn't need a lot to survive. So men can basically create, and simplicity is luxury for a man. So you're going to have a lot of women who are going to struggle economically because men are not going to be there to bail them out this time. So they're the ones who are going to struggle most heavily with things like homelessness, poverty, having to live in shelters, their cars, on the streets, in the woods, while a lot of men are just basically going to, you know, do what men have always done and live these comfortable lives and just keep on stacking paper. And men aren't stupid. A lot of dudes are just gonna buy Bitcoin. They're gonna put. I've had some guys who told me like they have so much disposable income that all of their money basically just goes into crypto and stocks and whatever and investments, and they don't even care if it goes to zero because they have that much disposable income. The money that they would have spent taking women out on dates or saving so that they could, get married one day and all of these things, they're not doing it anymore. They have money set aside for a rainy day. They have no debt, and all of their disposable income is going into investments. And they don't care. When a man can say, I don't care if my investments go to zero, that's when you know he's good. All right? They just enjoy buying crypto. So they're buying up Bitcoin, they're buying up Ethereum, they're buying up Stellar, they're buying up Ripple, they're buying up these cryptos. All right, I just gave you a couple good ones. All right, they're buying up crypto, they're investing in the stocks, they're buying up Nvidia, they're getting the stocks that they want. Some of them are, and that's it. And they're avoiding they're avoiding large amounts of debt. They have everything that they want, guys. Like, I just keep on picking up games on Steam. Like, I've picked up thousands of dollars on Steam, thousands of dollars of games on Steam this year. I got my Steam Deck. I don't really have a lot of time to play, but I've got my Steam Deck. I just buy new games. Like, the money that I would be using to chase women or to take women out on dates, I just buy games, and I can use them. I can record footage from them. I can do reviews on them, and that's actually a part of my business. So, I mean, as a result of that, men do not need to anything right now when it comes to relationships. The money that men would originally be giving to women or using for women and children, they're keeping for themselves. And as a result, they can work fewer hours and enjoy their lives. And single men are now living longer, even longer than women who have never than the average woman. Single men are now living longer than even the average woman, or right in comparison. So that should just tell you how crazy things are. On the other hand, millennial women, Gen X women, and especially Gen Z women have the shortest life. Gen Z women have the shortest lifespan of all women over the last 100 years. Millennial women have increasingly shorter lifespans than women born over the last 100 years. They have shorter lifespans than women born over the last 100 years, and they have higher rates of mortality during pregnancy and giving birth. It's crazy than women who were born over the last 100 years, going back to 1928. So it's 96 years, but it's almost 100 years. And this is the reality. This is the reality that we are looking at right now. Hard times are coming for women in Western society, and men will just continue to be men and survive because they have to. And the Sims basically will do what they always do, just destroy society. But increasingly, women are going to lash out at the Sims. eventually, and the Sims are going to just be like, hey, you need to be quiet. All right. We will tell you what a woman's issue is. You don't tell us what women's issues are. We tell you what women's issues are. And women are gonna be like, what the hell is this Sim talking back to me? And that's when they're gonna realize that these Sims are just agents of the state. Just like they have operated as agents of the state, the Sims are agents of the state. The Sims have their own objectives. They have all right. They have their own objectives. They're working towards something. Okay. These Sims are not loyal. They are agents of the state, and this is their way of survival. Guys, if you're enjoying the content, come and join us over on the Angry Guy Clubhouse on Substacks. It's really awesome over there. It's completely free, by the way. Okay, it's totally free. I love it. I'm always over there. I'm on it every time. We have chats over there. You guys can come over there and chat with me, talk with me over there. I put out new blog posts every single day on there. Oh, it's such a less toxic community. We have podcasts over there. I do Gen X stories over there. We talk about Gen X. We talk about world events. I basically just talk about whatever I want to. I have also a section for wealth building. So if you want to learn how to build wealth in this dystopia, we've got stuff over there. You can also get a free copy of the Digital Nomad Blueprint. It's right in the welcome email. So when you sign up, it goes straight to you. You immediately, some of you guys were like, hey, where's the Digital Nomad Blueprint? It's right in the welcome email. You just have to scroll down to find it. Now it's right at the very top, right at the very top of the welcome email. So it's right there. You can click on it and get access to it. But yeah, guys, and you can find a link to a description of the video. And you should also see something pop up on your screen now, which will also allow you to head over there. But yeah, guys, Angry Guy Clubhouse. But yeah, guys, I mean, gamers have launched this massive boycott against feminism, and they won. What do you guys think regarding this? Let me know your thoughts, and let's talk about it in the comments. Like the video if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe, and if you like the video, share the video. And just remember that all roads lead to MWA, men walking away, and cheers.